whispering woods. The crisp autumn air filled my lungs as I ventured into the heart of the whispering woods. The sunlight filtered through the thick canopy, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. It was my annual camping trip, a chance to reconnect with nature and escape the hustle of everyday life. Little did I know that this trip would be far from tranquil. My two friends, Mark and Sarah, accompanied me on this adventure. As we set up our campsite, an unsettling feeling crept over me, like invisible eyes were watching our every move. I dismissed it as my imagination playing tricks on me and joined the laughter around the campfire. As darkness descended, the forest took on a foreboding demeanor. The woods seemed to come alive with strange rustlings, and the distant hooting of owls echoed through the night. Mark stoked the fire to keep the fear at bay, but it felt futile. I could sense something lurking beyond the shadows, something malevolent. We decided to turn in for the night, each of us retreating to our tents. I tried to sleep, but the chilling whispers that seemed to originate from within the woods kept me wide awake. The words were incomprehensible, a haunting melody of unintelligible sounds that seeped into my very soul. In the morning, I mentioned the whispers to Mark and Sarah, but they brushed it off as the usual sounds of the wilderness. They were too preoccupied with planning our hiking route for the day. Reluctantly, I followed their lead and tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. As we ventured deeper into the forest, the whispers grew louder, intertwining with the rustling leaves and the crunching of twigs underfoot. The woods felt alive, not in a vibrant way, but in a sinister one, like an ancient entity watching and judging our every step. During our hike, Sarah stumbled upon a peculiar clearing. The air seemed to grow colder, and a sense of unease washed over us. In the center stood a twisted tree, its gnarled branches forming an unnatural shape. Etched into its bark were cryptic symbols I couldn't decipher. Ignoring the warning signs, we continued deeper into the clearing, and that's when we discovered an old, weather-beaten journal lying at the base of the tree. Intrigued, we opened it, and our eyes widened as we read the terrifying entries. The journal belonged to a camper who had visited the woods years ago. As we flipped through its pages, we learned of their descent into madness, their growing obsession with the whispers and the mysterious tree. They spoke of seeing disturbing visions and experiencing supernatural events that tore at their sanity. Suddenly, the forest around us fell silent, and a thick fog rolled in, shrouding the clearing in a suffocating haze. Panic surged through my veins, and my heart pounded in my chest. Mark and Sarah tried to make sense of our predicament, but the whispers intensified, drowning out their voices. Desperation pushed us to leave the clearing, but we soon realized that we were disoriented, trapped in a nightmarish maze of trees. The forest seemed to shift around us, playing tricks with our senses, making it impossible to find our way back. As hours turned into what felt like an eternity, exhaustion and fear consumed us. Mark's sanity began to wane, and he became fixated on the tree in the center of the clearing. He mumbled incoherently about its power, its secrets, and the need to appease it. Sarah and I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. In a fit of desperation, he approached the tree and began to carve new symbols into its bark. With each stroke, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. As I stood there, paralyzed by fear, a dreadful realization dawned on me. The camper from the journal, they had done the same. Mark was falling prey to the malevolent force that had taken hold of the woods, and we were next. Sarah and I exchanged frantic glances, and without a word, we grabbed Mark and ran. But the forest had other plans. The trees seemed to close in on us, their branches reaching out like sinister claws, trying to ensnare us in their grasp. Time lost all meaning, and it felt like we were running in circles. The whispers echoed in our minds, driving us to the brink of madness. I could feel the malevolence, an ancient force that thrived on our fear. Finally, when we were on the verge of collapse, we stumbled upon the clearing again. Mark, in a trance-like state, walked toward the tree once more, drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Sarah and I tried to pull him back, but it was too late. In a horrific crescendo, the tree emitted a chilling wail, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of reality. Mark's body contorted in pain as he screamed, his flesh withering away until he was nothing more than a lifeless husk. Sarah and I fled, our screams blending with the ghastly echoes of the forest. We ran until our lungs burned, until we reached the edge of the woods. But even as we escaped the whispering woods, I knew we would never truly be free of its haunting whispers. To this day, I can still hear them when I close my eyes. The malevolent presence lingers, a constant reminder of the horror that unfolded within the heart of those cursed woods. And I warn you, dear reader, never venture into the whispering woods, for it is a place where darkness rules and sanity is but a fleeting dream.